Welcome to Cognitive Psychology. And for today, I will be your lecturer, Angela M. de Monteverde, as usual. And for the reading list, same reference that you have on your module. Also, this topic number 5, which is all about memory. I have to ask you something first before we could move on or before we could proceed to the next slide. If I'm going to ask you who is the president today and you could identify that one, okay, when is your birthday or what time is it? Okay, without even looking at the clock that you have on your end. Okay, if you'll be able to answer those questions, well, it's glad because you could answer. However, the process is not about simple as that. Okay, there's a lot of things that could pass us through before we can answer that one. It's just a matter of our brain is automatic so that we could answer or those questions that I asked you earlier. Okay, and all right, for this one, so what is memory? Now, memory is the means by which we retain and draw on our past experiences to use that information in the present. Okay, so meaning to say, this is the collection of the data that we have in our mind. Okay, so learning that has persisted over time, information that has been stored in many cases can be recalled. So meaning to say, if there are information that you have on your end or in your mind, those are the information that you can give only. Okay, because those are the information that you can only recall. So there are three common operation of memory. So these are the encoding, which you transform sensory data in form to mental representation. We also have storage. After you sense, you perceive the information around you or the environment around you. That will be the time that you have to encode. Okay, you are encoding. You might say that this is color white and then this is color violet. Okay, you sense that one, you perceive that one, and after that, after encoding and all the data that is written here, you memorize that one, or you know what does it mean. After that, you have to go to storage. You keep encoding information in your memory. Okay, so after memory, when when it's time for us to retrieve the information, because we need that one to be used, that will be the time for retrieval. All the information that has been stored in your memory will be retrieved, or you can pull all the information that is stored in your memory. So that's the three common operation of our memory. Also, memory can be accessed in three kind of way. We have recalling, we also have recognition, and we also have relearning. Okay, since for recall, you produce a fact, a word, or other item from memory. Okay, a measure of memory in which the person must retrieve information learned earlier. So, in recall, these are the set of words, information, images, experiences that you have in your mind. So, when the time comes that you have to um, get those information in your mind, you can use recall. So, what is the example of recall? There are times that we could not identify or hindi natin namamalayan, okay, na it's recalling na pala yung ginagawa natin, or there are certain factors na recalling na pala yun, such as a type of question like fill in the blank and writing an essay. It required that you can recall or you recall items from your memory so that you could answer the writing essay, because in writing essay you have information already that is stored in your memory, right? And for you to be able to write an essay, you have to recall those information. Another example would be fill in the blank. So when we say fill in the blank, you already memorize a certain word or phrase, sentences that you have on your mind, and then you have to get that information and you have to fill in the blank for you to be able to answer the whole phrase. Diba? So that these things are what we call recalling because it requires recalling because of we already have an information. What we have to do is to get that information and to apply that one in the certain consequence, like fill in the blank type of question and when we are writing an essay. So, for example, suppose you want to measure people's memory for late night comedians. All right. So here's the thing. In recalling, there is an example here like suppose you or let me revise this type of question. Suppose you are trying to memorize or you're trying to um measure the memory of a certain person. Okay, so that person has an exposure on the different comedians. Okay, and you have to, and then you're going to ask that person or maybe a friend of you and ask them like, who are the best comedian in the Philippines that you remember? And then this person that you have to ask, sasabihin niya, oh, okay, this might be Alan Kay, this might be Vice Ganda, this might be Kakay Bautista, this might be Kay Brosas, or any other comedians. And those kind of technique are in recall because there is a certain information already stored in the mind of the people that you are asking, and then what he or she have to do has to do rather is to pull up that information or the memory that she has on her mind so that he or she could answer that question that you are about to say or that you are asked. Okay, in recognition you select otherwise identify an item as being um okay. You select otherwise identify an item as being one that you have been exposed to previously. Okay, so that is recognition. For in recalling, we are pulling up something in our mind. Well, how about recognition? It's a way of we select an item that has been exposed previously. Example, another definition, if you are confused for this first bullet, is a measure of memory in which the person need only identify items previously learned. Okay, so when we say it is previously learned, um, the type of information that has been stored is like it's maybe a minute, a day, or not that much, just like what we have on the recalling, because in recalling the information is already stored in our mind and we have to pull up that one. In recognition, there is an image or phrases, sentences, or any other learning that you've learned, and what you're going from a short time and you're going to say that one or tell that one. That is recognition. For example, a multiple choice and true or false test involve some degree of recognition. Okay, so for another example, you could ask people which of the following is late night comic. Okay, so the information or the span that the has been restored into your mind is limited, or you've just learned that one previously. Okay, like this one: Jennifer Lopez, Jay Leno, Guy Ritchie, Cameron Diaz. Okay, so another example is that in multiple choice, when we are asking or when our teacher asks us to what is which is the best or encircle the correct um or encircle the best answer to the question. Okay, so that is the kind of multiple choice type of question in which um you have to recognize what is the best definition that is fit or or explanation that is fit to that certain question that I have in multiple choice. So what you're doing is you are recognizing who among of these, or example for that is example of multiple choice. For true or false, like tama ba ito or mali ba ito? Okay, those information that has been stored for a long time in your mind. So what you're going to do is to recognize what is the answer to that question. So you have experience also like superiority of cognition, recognition memory, when you have answered an exam question requiring you to remember a fact. You were not able to produce all the facts that were asked for, but when you discussed that particular question with a fellow student after the exam, he pointed out the correct answer. Okay? You immediately recognized it as correct and were annoyed with yourself for not coming up with the answer while taking the test. Okay, so that example would be, let me just translate that one in a vernacular way. Like, there are times, right, when we are explaining the answer to our classmate, or there are information that we have to explain to our classmate, it's easy for us to answer that one. However, if we are in the situation like tayong tinatanong, it's really hard to answer the correct um it's really hard to answer the correct, or to provide the correct answer to the certain question. Like, kung kailan mo pa siya naikwento dun sa friend mo, tsaka mo lang siya naalala, oh my God, bakit ganun? Hindi ko siya nasagutan ng tama, ito pala yun. Bakit hindi ko siya na-recognize? Di ba? So, that is the example of recognition also. Because of, what is the explanation of that? It's because of, um, if we are taking a multiple choice type of exam, or true or false question, or there is a question that we have to be answered in a time limit, where we forget to ask ourselves, we have to repeat that question, di ba? Parang ang dali sa atin na magsasagot tayo ng isa, or mahirap sa atin magsagot ng isang test question. Okay? Pero pag tayo na yung nagbibigay ng test question doon sa kakilala natin, maybe kaklase or kaibigan, ang dali na sa atin sagutin yung test question. It's about of we are filtering, or we are about to filter some words that is appropriate to us for us to be able to explain that one clearly. Diba? So that is an example of recognition. Okay? So, okay, where am I? All right. We also have relearning. Okay, in this relearning, you select or otherwise identify an item as being one that you have been exposed to previously. Okay, so another definition for relearning is that a measure of memory that assesses the amount of time and save when learning material again. So, when you studied for final exam, you relearn things you have forgot more easily than you did when you were first learning them. Okay? So, hope that one is clear to you. Okay? So, also, apart from that, we have three types of recalling a task. Okay? So, for recalling a task, number one would be, before we proceed on number one, would be how can we recall something? Or what is the name of the certain things that we are about to answer. Okay? Ay, serial recalling na pa yung nangyayari dito, just like the number one. Okay, so what is this? Serial recall, you recall items in the exact order in which they were presented. Okay, so for example, you could ask people to remember the following list of comedians in order. We have Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart, David Letterman, Conan O'Brien, Jay Leno, and ask them to repeat the list back in order. So that kind of scenario or recalling is what we call serial, because there is a succession of words or names or something, okay, that has been in ordered. Okay, that's what we call serial recalling or recall. Next, we have free recall. When we say free recall, this is a type of we are recalling items in any order you choose. Okay, so in this case, you would ask people remember the least comedians above in any order. Okay, so there are lots of comedians that we have on the last slide or on the previous slide, like this, right? In serial, we have to memorize um, all the names in order. However, in pre-recall, it's like you are giving a person a free will to recall things without in any order. So he has a free will to recall a name, and there is no restriction if that is will be in any order or um, okay. So but the main point is that the person needs to recall all the names. Um, the order of the names will not be vary. Okay, that is free recall. We also have cued recall, or what we also call as paired associates recall, in which you are first shown items in pairs, but during recall, you are cued with only one member for each pair and are asked to recall each mate. Okay, so this is the example. You could ask people to learn the following pairings like Colbert apple, Stewart grape, Letterman lemon, O'Brien peach, Lino orange, and then ask them to produce the pairing for Stewart. So which is now Stewart will be the grapes. Okay, so we are trying to recall something that it has been paired. Okay, example is okay. Si aning example would be Sir Jello is masungit. Okay, that is the paired um adjective for Sir Jello. Okay? Cognitive is masaya na subject. Okay? The cognitive, you pair that one as being masaya, and then you're going to ask the people or the student or your friend of yours, can you please describe or can you give me an adjective for this type of person? Okay, that you have, that has been shown to you on the whiteboard. Then what you're going to do is to, okay, Sir Jello, masungit, something like that, right? So that's what we call cued recall or the paired associates. Okay, because of there are adjective or words that has been paired to this item or to these people. Okay, just like association. Okay, association of classical conditioning, di ba? Meron yung pinipaired. So once kapag sinabing classical, dog is paired with bell, di ba? Or the bell has been paired with food. Okay, so that is paired associates recall because we recalling certain type of things, people, words, or anything with an association or that describe to the word or person or such things. Okay, hope that I explained that one clear. If ever you have a question, you may still ask me during synchronous class so that I could accommodate and explain that one further to you. Okay, so what is the next one? Next one would be we also have implicit versus explicit memory task. Okay, for explicit memory, the participants is engaged with conscious collection or conscious recollection. Okay, example, they might recall or recognize words, facts, or pictures from particular prior set of items. Okay, so um, Okay, for explicit memory, these are conscious. You're conscious that you are trying to recall something. Okay, it depends on what have you been studied, or you are recalling, or you are trying to recalling what you have in memory consciously. Okay, so conscious ka na nare-recall mo, ay, ano nga ba ang sagot dito? Ay, ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin dito? Or, ay, paano nga ba gumawa ng research? Or, ay, paano nga ba ang name ng tao na yon? Okay, you are conscious. That is explicit memory. When we say implicit memory, so we use information from memory but are not consciously aware that we are doing so. Okay? Example, for this one, there is a missing letter. F blank O D. But since that earlier, the explicit memory is all about conscious. You are aware that you are recalling something, right? That you're recalling something that what you have on your memory. However, in implicit memory, this is unconscious. Okay, meaning to say, it's an automatic for us to identify what's in the picture, or we already have that kind of information. And since that our brain is so much powerful that we could identify this one, okay, it's food. Okay, it's just happened like there is a certain or missing letter on this picture. That is why you are about to identify that one. Okay, even that there is a missing letter. Okay, so that is implicit memory. Okay, so in line to implicit memory, we also have priming effect. Okay, so what is this priming effect? So people perform word completion tasks. It is a facilitation of your ability to utilize missing information. All right. Priming is a type of implicit memory. Actually, there are lots of types of implicit memory, but we can only tackle some or few of them. Okay, so first is the priming, as I mentioned earlier, the definition. And for an example, suppose that you are asked to fill in the blanks with five missing letters to form a word. Example is IMP. Because you recently have seen the word implicit, okay, you would be more likely to provide the five letter, which is the LICIT, for the blanks than would someone who had not recently been exposed to the word. So priming. Okay, so since that you are exposed already to a certain things, even that there are missing letters, or there is there are missing word that we have on the example, you're about to recall that one because of you are exposed already to a certain word. Unlike to those people, okay, who is not exposed to that kind of word like implicit, they could answer something, okay, that has an IMP. It could be important, right? Okay, or oh no, maybe or any other word that has this 1 2 3 4 5 missing letters. Okay, so since that you are exposed already, that's what we call priming effect. Okay, we also have procedural memory. Okay, so under priming effect is procedural memory, or memory for process. Okay, what is this? Can be tested in implicit memory tasks as well. Examples of procedural memory include the procedures involved in, like, you are riding a bike. Okay, if you are riding a bike, you're not going to memorize that one, right? It's automatic to you that you're going to jump in the bike, and then you're going to use, I don't know if it's clutch, what we call clutch, or the or you're going to step on the pedal. It's an automatic to you. You know already the step-by-step procedure on how you'll be able to make the bike move. Okay, because of you already have inside of your implicit memory, okay, this is the step by step. Okay, so I know it already. It's in line to implicit memory because you are conscious that you are doing na, ay, okay, ganito mag-ride ng bike, okay, since that this is automatic and since that this is in my implicit memory, hindi mo na siya kailangan alalahanin pa because you know it already how to ride a bike. Okay, so hope that I explained that one clear. Um, Next, another example would be you are writing, right? When you were a kid and you're not about to know how to write and you do not recognize how to write syllables, letters, something like that. You have to memorize, ano nga ba yun yung pag-aralan ko? How am I going to write a letter A or letter B? How is this kind of symbol? How am I going to draw that one? Ando doon pa siya sa explicit mo, di ba? Because, pinakita sa iyo ng mama mo or the teacher of yours, okay, this is letter A, you have to write letter A. But since that the writing of letters is already in implicit or in the procedure, you do not have to remind yourself that, how am I going to do? How am I going to write this kind of letter? Okay, it's already in the memory of processes or in the procedural memory. Okay, next would be we have intelligence and the importance of culture in testing. So we have sensory store, short term and long term. Okay, so today, cognitive psychologists commonly describe the three stores. Okay, sensory memory, short term memory, and long term memory. Okay, this is how um, this is a new one. Okay? Na sasabi nila natin, okay, that is a sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. But before, this is what we call sensory store, short-term store, and long-term store. Okay? And what is now the sensory store? Capable of storing relatively limited amounts of information for very brief periods, such as you've seen the how or what is the color of the of a gift that your maybe your friend gave you. Okay, my friend gave me a color pink of t-shirt, something like that. So because you perceive that one, you sense of sight, the color of the t-shirt that has been given to you. Another example would be the taste of a food. It is already stored in your memory. Okay, I don't like um the food that I have tasted because I guess it's not my cup of tea. That is why you don't like the taste of certain food. Okay, it is already stored in you. How? It's because you sense that one. Limited amount of information for very brief periods. Okay, and what about short-term store? Okay, so capable of storing information for somewhat longer period. So meaning to say, if it's somewhat longer period, it is not. It's different from this one in which you've read, you just smell something or you just seen something, you perceive something, or you just sense in a briefly amount. In short-term memory, it's a bit longer than sensory. Okay? But of relatively limited capacity as well. So meaning to say, only 20 to 30 seconds, the information can only retain to short-term memory. Okay. So in just 20 to 30 seconds, like is this? Hala, um ano nga ba yung kinuha ko? Or inutusan ka na nanay mo bumili ng gamot and then you forgot that one. Okay? Nandun kasi siya short-term memory mo. Okay? Ano nga ba yung gamot na yun? And what you have to do is to make that one to remember. Make yourself to remember certain kind of drug. Okay, kaya bibili niya ako ng, for example, paracetamol. Okay? So, all of these things, naka-stored lang siya sa atin in just short-term memory. Another example would be, um, magbabayad ka sa jeep. Okay? Ay, magkano nga ba yung pamasahe? All of the information that has been stored to you and you are having a problem on how you'll be able to answer that one or iniisip mo pa, lahat ng yon ay nasa short-term memory mo. It's not automatic. So, how about long-term store? So, in long-term store, we constantly constantly use short-term memory throughout our daily activities, right? So when most of us talk about memory, however, we usually are talking about long-term memory. Here, we keep memorize or we keep here we keep memories that stay with us over long periods, perhaps indefinitely. All of us rely heavily on our long-term memory, and we hold in it information we need to get us in our day-to-day lives. People's name, where we keep things, how we schedule ourselves on different days, and so on and so forth. Okay, so another definition would be very large capacity. Okay, capable of storing information for very long periods, perhaps even indefinite. So here's the thing. Let me go back to the example on the short-term memory. Pia, nandun ka sa tindahan ni tandaan or in the sari-sari store in front of you. Then, what you're going to do, pibili ka na nanin mo ng suka. Okay? Pibili ka na nanin ng suka and what you have to do is to remember that word or ano nga ba pibili ng mama ko? Suka. Oh, okay. Kabili ka ng suka and then nagamit mo na that information na suka in your short-term memory, what you're going to do is itatapon mo na yung memory na yon na pinabili ka ng mama mo ng suka because it might be you don't need that one anymore because you're done doing that one. However, in long-term memory, as in everyday lives, ito talaga yung ginagamit natin. Okay? Bakit siya ito talaga ang ginagamit? It's because of we usually or we recall everything that what we have on the long-term memory. Ay, ano nga ba pangalan nun? Something like that. Okay? And then, what you're going to do is hindi mo itatapan yung memory na yon. Okay? Since that, this is my new friend, this is blah, 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 blah. Okay? Kung may nakapagkakilala sa'yo. And then, what you're going to do is to memorize that name. Okay? So, ihayaan mo siyang i-store doon sa long-term memory mo. Because of, dahil siguro ay that person is important, something like that. That's why you store the name of that person in your long-term memory. Okay? In short-term memory, in simplest say, kailangan lang natin to, or ginagamit lang natin tong short-term memory, it's because of kailangan lang natin siya in the short period. And then after nyo natin siya magamit, what we're going to do is to itatapon na natin siya. Because we don't need that one anymore. Okay? That is what short-term memory all about and long-term memory and also sensory store. Okay, so how it goes? Okay. Okay, we still have this one. Sensory store. The sensory store is initially repository of much information that eventually enters the short and long-term stores. Okay, so in sensory store, another explanation for this is that if we send something, it's up to us if we're going to transfer the information that we have sensed into long term or to short term. Okay, so all right, so it's up to us. In sensory store, we also have iconic store. Okay, under of sensory store. The iconic store is a discrete visual sensory register that holds information for very short periods. Its name derives from the fact that information is stored in the form of icons. These, in turns, are visual images that represent something, or icons usually resemble whatever is being represented. Okay, so example would be um, for that one for iconic store or iconic store is an image. Okay? Na, okay, alam ko na to. Okay, itong image na to ay logo to ng Apple. Okay? Diba? Because I know that image already. I sense that one because the image looks like an apple. That is why it's an image of Apple. Okay, nakalagay na siya dun sa iconic store mo or this icon signifies the apple. Okay? So So, in simplest say, iconic store is a discrete visual sensory. Okay, so that's it. Okay. Next would be short-term store. Okay? So, in short-term store, again, most of us have little or no introspective access to our sensory memory stores. Nevertheless, we all have access to our short-term memory store. It holds memories for a few seconds, like 30 seconds, and occasionally up to a couple of minutes. Okay, so that's what I was trying to say earlier, that memory or in short-term memory or in short-term store, we can only um, hold certain information or memory for about 13 seconds. Then after that 30 seconds or a minute, hindi na natin siya kailangan, maybe because of nagamit na natin siya or we're done with that certain memory. So what we're going to do is tatapon na natin siya or kakalimutan na natin siya at hindi na natin siya alalahanin. Okay, that is short-term store. So after sensory and short-term, we have also long-term store. So what we have here, we constantly use short-term memory throughout our daily activities when most of us talk about memory. However, usually are talking about long-term memory. Okay, here we keep memories that stay with us over long periods. Perhaps, definitely, all of us rely heavily on our long-term memory. We hold in it information we need to get us by in our day-to-day lives, people name, where we keep things, how we should schedule ourselves on different days, and so on. Okay, I already explained that one earlier on the previous slide. Okay? So these are the information that holds us. Okay? That we need from day to day. That is why kailangan ko pa to bukas. This kind of memory is I need this ng pangmatagalan. That's why what I'm going to do is to make myself familiarize with this, and what I'm going to do is to store this one on my long-term memory because I need this kind of thing. Example for that one would be um, the theory, okay? Theories in psychology like Freud or the anal stage. What is this anal stage? Says that you need that kind of information like Freud, psychoanalytic, okay? What you're going to do is to store that one in the long-term memory because you know, since that you are taking up a psychology, you'll be using that one for a lifetime. Okay, that is why you're going to store that one in your memory. All right. I hope that I explained that one very clear. Okay. What's next would be um there is Atkinson and Shifrin's model. This is what we call this. Okay, we have this kind of thing, or we have this image that we have on the PowerPoint. Okay, so upon sensing the external events, okay, example, you sense something, okay, from your sensory memory, and then your sensory memory have to these external events, you're going to input that one in your sensory. Okay, you're going to input what you perceive or the stimulus that you've seen, and input everything in the sensory memory. After you input the information in your sensory memory, what you're going to do is to encode. Okay. Example would be okay. This side is color violet. I am sensing that one. Okay, so you encode already the color of this in your mind. So now what we have to do is to have that one into short-term memory. Do we need that one, or in a long period, or in a certain period? Okay, so that, by the way, that's an automatic. Okay, so in line with short-term memory, we have also called working. Okay, this is a conscious active processing of incoming auditory and visual spatial information and lack of information retrieved from long-term memory. Okay, so In working memory, after we've sensed that one in the sensory, um, our mind will store that one into short-term memory. Okay, it says here that lack of information retrieved from long-term memory. Okay, it's a conscious. Okay, ito yung kailangan ko bilhin. Okay, ito yung those things are in short-term memory. Okay, after you create that one, okay, it's either you're going to put that information into, or you're going to store that information into your long term, or remain that one into short term. When we say if you're going to remain that one, that information that you have said, that what you have on your sensory memory, it's either itatapon mo na ba siya after mo gamitin, or i-store mo siya dun sa long-term memory. And paano natin how are we going to um, maintain that information, or how are we going to put the certain information into our long-term memory? It's for us to rehearse. Okay, it's for us to maintain rehearsal. We have to say it again and again, or to repeat that thing for us to be able to store into long-term memory. Okay? After we sense that one from short-term memory, our long-term, it sends a signal, or all the information that has been encoded to long-term memory for us to be able to remember that one in a long period, because we've sensed, I need this information for a long time. That's why what I'm going to do is to um store this in long-term memory. So in working memory, it says earlier that it's a conscious active processing. So meaning to say, conscious ka na, alalahanin mo pa ba to or hindi na. Okay, kasi kung hindi na, ipatatapon ko na to, kung kailanganin ko pa, ay store ko siya sa long-term memory. And for us to be able to retain the information, if we are trying to study something, if you're trying to memorize, or if we would like to be an RPM or psychologist, psychiatrist, we have to maintain rehearsal, just what I mentioned earlier, or okay, and stored that information to our long-term memory. How? By practicing that one, okay, by reviewing everything and so on and so forth, okay, by memorizing something, so that we can store that certain memory that we have in the short term, so to put into the long-term memory. Okay, so I hope that I explained that one very clearly to you. If you still have a question or confusion, you may still ask me during synchronous class or asynchronous, so that I could enlighten you more. All right, so and that is the end of lesson number 5. And please do answer the activity that we have on your module regarding dementia, and please also include the DOI article or the journal article. Where have you get that one? Please avoid getting information inside um, something like journal, something like that. I need a recent article for you to be able also to not just by only giving you an information like kung ano ni sasabi ni Teacher Jello, but to also for yourself to gather in information on your own, so that we tackle last meeting that it's only about 10% when we are listening to the people or to the teacher that is already that can only retain into our mind, whereas the another 90%, it's about for us to study that one well. Okay, and thank you for listening. Hope you learned something regarding on memory. Then have a great good luck. Okay, have a good luck to your midterm exam next week. Okay, bye for now.